Super excited to announce the Law Firm Retreat Design Your Future being held this August 5th through 8th, 2026 in the Denver, Colorado area. Teaming up with law firm architects, Power Strategy Group, we're going to be having an amazing opportunity for up to 15 firms to work on the business, not in the business. Find out more at powerstrategygroup.com. Welcome back, everyone. This is Ruby Powers, your host of Power Up Your Practice, and I have a special guest, Erin Gerner, who is with Powerhouse Lawyers, a podcast, but also she is an attorney, an entrepreneur, and a coach, and founder of Powerhouse Lawyers. Welcome to the show, Erin.
Thank you so much, Ruby. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, so I was on your podcast not too long ago, and I'm so glad to do the podcast swap dance with you and have you on. And I was just so intrigued by how many similarities we had. Two kids who are about the same age, having being professionals, navigating lawyers, having podcasts, helping coach and other attorneys and business owners. So I guess tell our listeners just a little bit more about yourself and what you're up to these days.
Yeah, so like Ruby said, I actually am of counsel with a law firm. I went back to practicing law at the beginning of the year. So that's been like a really exciting thing, and something that I've been itching to do under like circumstances that made sense for me. So that's been really exciting. I also, through my journey of leaving BigLaw, leaving my in-house counsel position when I became a mom, oh my gosh, longer than I care to admit ago, just about that transition of leaving the law, of kind of relinquishing that identity of like, who am I if I'm not an attorney? What does it look like? What do I actually want? What does it look like if I put all these legal expectations and the expectations of others aside? So I had a journey of really kind of discovering who I was in that process after leaving the law when my kids were really little. And so then I have turned that into a couple of opportunities to pour back into lawyers through coaching. I previously hosted retreats. I have a podcast that's 3 years old called Powerhouse Lawyers, where I interview, like Ruby said, she was just on my show, where I talk to females in law from all over the country, from all different walks of life, to just share their story, how they got to be where they are, things that they've navigated, and really just kind of tapping into that part of being a lawyer that connects us, that sometimes feels really lonely, but it's truly, once you feel like you connect with that and another lawyer, and the community that builds is really, really awesome. So yeah, I do all the things. And like Ruby said, I've got 2 kids. I have a daughter who is 15. I have another daughter who is 11, and they're busy. I'm busy. I have my hat in a lot of rings, but we somehow make it work. Here we are. And I'm so excited to be here. Yeah.
Awesome. And I love the description of the Powerhouse Lawyers podcast, where you're coaching attorneys across the country through some of the highest stakes decisions of their careers, from either leaving big law or launching solo practices or redefining what success actually looks like. And I wanted to tee that up because you mentioned that there's this thing called the success trap. And what does that mean to you, and how do we avoid that?
This episode is sponsored by Candle AI, the legal email assistant that helps legal teams spend less time on client emails. You heard me right, spending less time on emails. Candle AI works with both Gmail and Outlook, so you don't have to learn a new tool. And then it connects with popular case management systems like Clio, Filevine, INSSoom, and more to come. It instantly shows you your case and the client details the moment you open a client email, and right inside your inbox. And then that means less context switching and time spent jumping to different tabs to figure out what you need to respond. Candle can also draft context-aware responses to client emails and makes it easy to create, edit, and manage your email templates. If you want to save time and take back control of your inbox, check out Candle AI. I highly suggest it.
So to me, that really means, I kind of like compare it to like this hamster wheel that we get on as high achieving women, where, we've been told we're smart, we're leaders, we've always been successful at what we've done. We've made great grades. We're the perfectionists, right? You get on this path and life kind of lays out this trajectory for you, and then you start running, and achieving feels good. I mean, it's a great dopamine hit, and we just keep running, especially as lawyers, right? Like we run so hard to get into law school. Then you get into law school and it's a grind, right? We're running, we're hitting all of these milestones. And before you know it, you've launched yourself into a legal career that you haven't asked any questions of yourself, like, does this feel aligned? Do I even like this? What do I want? What feels good? You just are constantly meeting milestones and achieving, and right, like, and it feels good for a while. And then eventually you kind of hit a wall, and it's like, that nothing feels good, right? That dopamine hit is super short-lived. Like, that gratification is super short-lived. And it all just feels kind of blah. And you turn around and you're asking yourself, and you stand on top of this hill and you're like, well, what now? Like, like, this doesn't feel good. I've done every single thing that I'm supposed to do. Like, how do I get off this train? And so that's kind of
or the hamster wheel, basically, right?
Yeah, and it's just this hamster wheel that we find ourselves on, and it's so common. I thought I was totally alone, and and that feeling when you arrive to that place of just like, none of this feels good. Thought I was so alone in that. I was like, oh my God, like, all these other people look like they know what they're doing. Like, I'm working at this, in first in BigLaw and then in-house, and I'm like, all these people look like they're fine, and I am like a hot mess. And everyone looks like they're doing great. And I'm like, am I the only person? So it's been super fulfilling to kind of have that full circle moment of being able to coach women through that and be like, first of all, you're not alone. You are not, there's nothing wrong with you. And now it's time to really like stop, get clear. Like, what do you want? What feels good to you?
So yeah, why don't we go into that a little bit more? Because I think probably a lot of my listeners resonates. How do you coach them through that question? What feels good to you? And like that pause, like what are some of the things that they go through when you have that conversation? And does it take a while to be honest with themselves, or what's that process look like?
Yeah, I think there's several layers to dig through, right? Because our first reaction is to say the expected answer, or the answer that we've been kind of like subconsciously trained to be like, I'm fine, everything's fine. Or, like, this is just how it is. Like, I'm fine. Like, I'm managing, all of these excuses that we make for ourselves. And so and achievers, right? And like, we like, failure is not an option. And so coming to the table and not feeling like a line in your career, like, for a lot of people, especially women, like, feel like a failure. And it's not a failure. It feels like you're doing something wrong, or there's something wrong with you, and it's not. And so a lot of this work, before we can actually get clear, is just putting down all of the lies that we've been telling ourselves, right? That I don't deserve this, or this is just the way it is, or eventually it will get better if I just push enough, or what if I buck the system? What if I finally turn around and ask myself, like, damn, this really isn't making me happy, and I have to make like a big decision here. But there's a lot of things we have to like put down, that guilt and that shame and all that kind of stuff. And honestly, a lot of it, Ruby, is just getting still with your thoughts. And that sounds like super cliche and like maybe a little woo, but we are not still. We all know this about ourselves. Like, we are moving 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
You are in full like burnout hamster wheel mode. Like, you cannot see the forest for the trees. And so it's so important just to like take a breath and be like, does this feel good? Right. And so it's a process. I think we're all in the process of discovering and becoming. But I think that first initial step of being like, I want to work with a coach, someone who's gone a couple steps before me, who's, we're all still working out our own stuff, right? But it's the point of like, I'm just a couple steps ahead, and it's just bringing the women up with me and putting down the lies and working through their own feelings. And once we, obviously we coach through that, et cetera, but practically I have what I call a life audit. And it really just kind of walks you through, health, relationships, spiritual, financial, career, all of these, different pockets of our life, really sitting down and getting, so like, how do you feel? 1 to 10, like, where is that on where you actually want to be? And it actually allows you to gain a lot of clarity by getting still, sitting down and taking a deep, thoughtful look about these different areas of your life, asking yourself where you want to be, reflecting, am I going and moving in that direction? And if I'm not, how do we start to take small, simple steps over time to start righting that ship so we can alleviate some of that stress and pressure and burnout? It's a process.
Yeah, that's great to know that we have to give ourselves grace. So if those are listening, this really resonates, knowing that, it one is acknowledging that you're in this situation. Another would be to just be calm and pause and be quiet with your thoughts and really listen to your intuition. And I'm gonna be a dork. I watched Survivor 50 with my family, and one of the lessons from one of the whatever contestants was about how he had a dream and he was supposed to do something and he didn't listen to his intuition and then he got kicked out of the game. I won't give the details, but basically, I don't know, that really resonated with me because I was like, what I even wrote about that in my book about the importance of having more like free space in your schedule, in your life, in your like you don't have to always be watching, listening, doing at every moment of your life. But I think we're so addicted to that, and it's because it's so readily available. When we were like our generation, when we were kids, we didn't have internet and cell phones and
We
whatever.
had
So
to
there's like,
learn how to occupy our mind doing
yeah,
something else. Like, we
right.
had to
Use our
critically think about
imagination.
how like, it's so
Right.
different.
So like I think when you I was on your podcast, we were joking about like how I have to pay a lot of money to make my kids go to a tech free zone, cell phone tech internet free zone. Anyway, which is like unlike the opposite of like my childhood, but anyway, where it was all around me
Yes.
for
We
free.
had to we had to use our imagination. Like, imagine that, like, the
Right.
thought.
But I guess circling back, I also talk about like the importance of your goals and everything. And I think what happens with a lot of us lawyers is like we know we need to go to a good high school or good college and then get into law school and then pass the bar and then get a good job. And then like after that gets a little hazy because we're just sort of like you said, the train, and we're just sort of like doing this thing. And then we see other people, we look a little to the left, look to the right, and we're like, okay, this is sort of what I'm supposed to be doing, but we don't really maybe stay calm and quiet and really ask ourselves, do we like what we're doing? Do we like where this is taking us? Like, do we enjoy it? Like, and then maybe we get confused because there's all these dopamine hits of like what was the accolades or the recognition or the whatever, staying busy, and then I think the other thing that's I think when your kids start moving out of the house, I think that's gonna be like a whole nother moment. And there may be some listeners are already there, but like I'm thinking about that heavy hard because mine are 13 and 15. And I'm like, well, that's gonna be a whole nother story because they're already starting to get more independent. Anyway, so I love this topic because I think so many of us get on this path because we're high achievers, that's fortified even more in law school and through our profession, and we don't give ourselves the grace and the quiet to just listen to our intuition and be still and really do a deep dive check in as to, are we on the right path or do we need to do some pivoting?
And I think, it's okay. Also, I think the other thing is to recognize is that this whole life is seasons. So, like, what used to work in one season maybe doesn't work in another season. Like, that's why I love the life audit process, because it makes you stop and audit where you are. I think what we like to do is like shame ourselves for former versions of who we were. Do you know what I mean?
Mm,
Like, oh, I can't, maybe, for example, like pre-kids, and your work-life balance doesn't look the same as it did now that you have another human being, but we like to think that we were this pre-baby person. and shaming ourselves for not feeling the same, showing up the same, wanting to show up the same. Like, that's okay. You're just a different person now. Like, different things matter. You have different priorities, different goals, and that's okay. I just think we're taught, especially as lawyers, like that is weakness and it's not okay, but it is okay. It's okay to change. It's okay to change your mind. It's okay to want a different thing. It's okay to make a different choice. And I just think there's so much freedom in having someone come by your side and being like, that is okay. Like, how you are feeling is validated. And now what are we going to do about it?
Yeah, I love that. And I think that it's helpful to see others who've gone through this as well and done sort of this realization. And I love that about the different seasons too, because there's when you're starting to practice and you're getting your footing, and then there's also maybe if you're starting a family at some point, maybe that's around the same time, who knows, I don't know. And then whatever your goals are, but I do love this life audit because I usually talk about time audits and things like that, but like life, I mean, that's what we should definitely be doing. And I think the other thing that makes our profession so much different than others is that our identity is so intertwined with it that we sort of can't really dissect our profession from our identity many times. And so we it takes a lot to really sort of sit with that and analyze who we are and what we want to accomplish, and what do we want next with our careers and our lives, personally, professionally. And it could, I mean, like one of the things I tell my law students, and hopefully I don't get in trouble with law schools, but like, you don't have to practice law. Like, you don't have to feel
Yeah.
like, make sure you really want to do this,
Right. Right. Like, no one was telling us that when we were going through law school. Like, there were no, panels of people being like legal alternative careers. Like, no one was talking about like, you can actually do a lot of things with a law degree. Like, they were like, no, you could practice law. So I think it's so nice to see, especially courses popping up at law schools, just giving students, especially at such an early juncture in your legal career, like permission to think differently.
So what did you have to let go of to get where you are now? Because you left BigLaw, you've done some curves and turns and things like that, and you've found come into your own. But maybe it's good to share a little bit of that, because then people know, maybe it feels unknown and unfamiliar, but then you can end up still okay.
Yes,
On the
absolutely.
other
I mean, I think,
side.
yeah, and I think I had to let go of what you just mentioned, that tying my identity so closely to being an attorney. It was, especially after I became a mom, it was really like sitting with, who is Erin if that's not part of her life, or if we take that part away. I mean, I'd never even stopped enough to ask myself that. And so when I left the law, and just like the circumstances of how I left and all this kind of stuff, it was just like, wait a second. And I was going to what I wanted, right? Like, I was doing what I wanted. I just never had taken the time to take into account what those feelings were going to come after I actually took the action. And so lots of reconciling there. Had to let go of comparison. Like, we all have to let go of that, right? It's, you look to your right, to your left. I've got people that I went to law school with who have completely different lives. I mean, I even gave, when I talked for the Minnesota Bar Association last summer, like, I even talked about this. It's kind of like a reckoning really after my 40th birthday with myself. Like, I kind of had this moment of like, oh my gosh, like, I'm looking at all of my comrades here, and they're vacationing here and they're doing that. And, I've made sacrifice, you know what I mean? Like, I've made sacrifices in my career, our family, or whatever. And I was having a moment of like, woe is me. What are you doing? No. Like, comparison is the thief of all joy, right? Like, I am living in the reality of the blessings and prayers that I wanted years ago, right? Like, I am living that reality. Like, just because it doesn't look like I thought it was going to, doesn't mean that I'm not exactly where I'm supposed to be, and just letting go of that comparison trap. And I think you've also got to let go of the opinions of others and just understand that they're none of your business. They're not they're not paying your bills, right? Like they are not, you have this one beautiful life and you get to choose, you get to decide. And if you're living your life based on what other people think, what they want for you, what they expect for you, like you are going to constantly run into a wall. Like eventually that is going to stop fulfilling you or feeling good. And so, yeah, I mean, I think I had to let go of that identity piece, lots of comparison, and the opinions of others, doubt, imposter syndrome, fear, right? All of these things that are completely normal feelings, but it was learning through hiring a coach myself, finding other things that fulfilled me, right? Finding success in other avenues of my life, like allowing myself to be good at what I was good at, even if it didn't traditionally look like being a lawyer, right? It's all of those things. And I think all of those feelings are normal, but then it's really how are you going to find the guidance, the structure, the reverse engineering to kind of to right the ship in those things.
What would you tell a lawyer, maybe someone you're coaching that is who wants to make a change, those they need to make a change, but they're paralyzed by something that's keeping them from doing it?
I would say, in the wise words of Mel Robbins, no one is coming. No one is coming. And I know that that sounds harsh and maybe like not what you want to hear, but that paralysis is being right. Like there's something else underneath that, right? What's causing the paralysis? Is it fear of judgment? Is it comparison? Is it like what imposter syndrome? What is it? And also, no one is coming. So we've got to acknowledge those feelings, and then how are we going to be able to work through that, either through a coach, either whatever your medium is, to be able to work through and past those feelings. But that is where we have to take control, because it is so easy to live in paralysis. And we can justify it. We can cover it up with busy. We can do a whole lot of other things to make paralysis look like productive, when in fact it is not. And so, yeah, I mean, I have to remind myself of that too, right? Like it is, we all have to we get stuck in certain things all the time. And then it's, okay, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to stay where you are? Or are we going to move on and forward? And how are we going to do that?
So like paralysis appearing as productive is like being on pause in a holding pattern, but in your choosing not to make a decision, but just sort of it appears as if you're still in motion of some sort, but you're really
researching, you might be enrolling in classes, you might be having lots of conversations, right? That can all be, that's like masked productivity, right? Like, is that yes. And taking a step back, are some of those things moving the needle? Yes. Do we need to have knowledge? Yes. Do we need to make connections? Yes. Do we need to do all those things? Yes. But are you actually doing more of those to then not actually do the thing?
Well, and also, right, exactly. And that feeds into that whole, like, the longer you take to make a decision, it is a decision. You're not acting, basically.
Right.
And yeah.
And that's hard to hear, but it is like, it's on us to move. Like it's on us to move. But here's the thing, you can reach out and people can, you have community, you have friends, you have coaches, you have podcasts, you have books, you have all of these things now today in 2026 to empower yourself to help you make that decision or figure out what the next small, simple step is forward. That's the other thing, like that paralysis comes from how, like, it seems like such a big gap from where you are now to where you want to go. Like A to Z seems so far. And it's like, how in the hell am I going to even do that? You don't have to know how you're going to get to Z. We just need to take the next best step. And sometimes that is the hardest.
Are you feeling overwhelmed by all the different things you have to do to run a law firm? Well, you're not alone. So many law firm owners are in the same boat. That's where Staffy steps in. More than 90 firms, just like yours, are leaning on their bilingual virtual staff for legal, administrative, marketing, and client-facing work, plus their full HR support. I currently have 11 team members with Staffy across my own firm and Power Strategy Group, and it's been a total game changer. Schedule a free initial consultation at staffy.cc, that's stafi.cc, and use the code RUBY, RUBY, for $500 off.
And that's so valuable to know that, that And I think like really good things in life come from doing hard things. And it, maybe we're forced to do it, and maybe we get the guts and the gumption to do it ourselves. Like I think about how when I was late, well, when I was on your podcast and we talked about that, like I was laid off the second time in 2009, and then I just registered the law firm the next day. And I was grateful for it because it sort of like gave me, I don't know, it gave me the freedom to do what I wanted to do anyway, but I was waiting for something to happen, and I think that's a really good point, is like, why are we waiting for something to happen? Like, why don't we just take control of the situation?
And we could wait forever. It feels really
Right.
comfortable to wait,
Yeah.
though. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we get real comfortable
Yeah.
in that space. And,
Right.
It feels uncomfortable to be uncomfortable. It sucks. But like that, like the growth happens in the unsexy part. Like, I hate to tell
And
you,
the
but like
uncertainty. Right. Exactly.
it just that confidence, that whatever, that comes through the messy action. Like, you have to push through that feeling of uncomfort, and the other side is like, okay, yeah, I can do that again. Okay, yeah, I can do that again. Okay, yeah, I can do that again. And it's just small, simple things that start changing over time. And you look back in 6 months or a year and you're like, dang, okay, like that's what happens. But it's oftentimes just the hardest part is taking that very first step and knowing that it doesn't need to be the perfect next step. It just needs to be the next best step.
Awesome. Well, as we're getting closer to a close, I really love this idea of like, what does reclaiming your powerhouse status mean in practice? Like, what does that look like in someone's daily life and career, as we're learning to evaluate and to really be true, listen to ourselves and find what we really want in life?
I think it is really asking yourself that simple question of like, what do I need? And that can be in the moment, that can be in a day, that can be in a week. Like, what do I need? And giving it to yourself. Like, do I need a break? Do I need a walk? Do I need a workout? Do I need a phone call with a friend? Do I need, what do I need? And then giving that to yourself. That is reclaiming your powerhouse status. And it doesn't have to be this big production or this huge to do. It is taking back those simple things that bring you joy, that make you feel peace, that make you feel happiness, that start changing your mindset. It's those simple things of starting there that build on itself, because we're so mean to ourselves. We're so mean. We just like beat the crap out of ourselves every day with a rock, talking crap in our heads, maybe not having any daggone boundaries, like not saying no, like we're doing all these things that are just draining every single part of us. And that's why we wonder why we feel exhausted at the end of the day. Like, duh. Like, yeah, because you have literally, your gas tank is completely empty, like on
Mhm.
dry.
Yeah.
So how are we going to fill that back up? And again, those things are on you. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be massive, but you have to put yourself in your calendar. I tell my clients this all the time. You have to put yourself in your calendar, because if you do not schedule yourself, then somebody will schedule right over you, or you will schedule right over yourself.
I love all of this. And I think like at whatever age we are, whoever's listening, you probably have had some time to get to know yourself, and what makes yourself tick, what gets you depletes yourself, what fills you up, what gives you joy, the type of clients that you need to avoid, the type of client situations that type you need to avoid. And I heard something at a conference not too long ago, and the speaker said something about like self-regulation and just the importance of how we need to self-regulate. And when we work together as a team, we're with a whole bunch of other people who need to self-regulate. And if someone doesn't self-regulate, then they can tip off the whole group if they
Yes.
don't let themselves have the boundaries to keep that person from tipping them over. And even today, I was talking about with my team, because immigration is our main practice and everyone's stressed out right now. And it's a common theme to have the clients are wanting to take out their drama, stress out on us. And we're like, we're on your side. We're trying to help guide you through this. We're trying to be your coach and get you through this. But we have to minimize the amount that you use as the dumping grounds
Yeah.
for all of it.
Yes.
But it's all about the self-regulation and like, and the boundaries and I love that, and the wisdom to know how to take care of yourself so that you don't spew onto the rest of your surroundings, but you also you're taking care of yourself, and then bringing in the fact that we're parents, our kids are watching and they're observing how we self-regulate and how we make these decisions. And of course, we're all trying to be better people, but it's just another reminder that they're little sponges watching us.
Yeah. Yes, for sure. For sure.
No pressure.
Everyone's going to need therapy in like 20 years. It's fine. We're fine. The kids are fine.
It's like a lot of career success in that area. Yeah. Well, Erin, it's been wonderful. I've got my fun fact questions now. So rapid questions. What is your favorite board game or card game?
I would say I have a couple. So
Okay.
we play Candyland. I love that. Like, is so nostalgic for me in my childhood. We play
Uh-huh.
Monopoly every Thanksgiving, my brother and his wife and us and the kids. I don't know if I've ever completed an actual game of Monopoly, but like we get like a couple hours in and then someone always inevitably like pieces out. But yeah, so that and Uno, we love a good Uno too.
Oh, do you have a particular Uno version? Because now there's so many.
Oh, I know. I think we just played the traditional one. It became a thing when every March we go on a vacation with my mom and dad, my brother, his wife, all of our kids. And so when we sit around at night, my sister-in-law, she loves a game. And so we have traditionally started playing Uno, and now it's our game and we sit around and do that. So yeah, just the traditional cards.
Oh, that's good. And even that traditional one, I think there can be disputes at the rules on that one, like stacking and anyway,
Oh, yes.
whatever.
Yes, exactly.
Don't get me started. Yeah. Okay. What would you consider your superpower?
I think my superpower is people.
I can see that. Yeah.
It's so interesting. Like I always thought that you know what I mean? Like everyone felt like that. Like I get energized with people. I love to hear their story. I love to absorb their energy. I want to know what makes them tick. I want to know where they want to go in their life. I want like part of my soul is just like invested in this. I don't know why. It's just the way God made me, but truly it's such a gift. And as I've gotten older, I've just kind of learned to embrace it, that I'm like, may just cruise up to you at the grocery store and we may have a life-changing conversation. Like it could happen. It could happen. And
I
so
love that. Yeah.
that's just who I am. I cannot help it. It's just who I am. And, I have people tell me all the time, like, they love that about me. They love my energy. They love that I can just like do that, just somehow like bring people together, bring what the best out in people. I don't know. I love people. Y'all are my favorite. What can I say?
Oh, heart. No, that's awesome. I've enjoyed being on your podcast and you being on my podcast.
Same.
I was like, the way you interviewed me, I was like, man, I need to up my interviewing game. Like, I was like, I don't know, it just seems so natural to you. It was great.
But that's you know what I mean? It's just one of those things that I love. Like it, I want to know like these maybe just questions that you're not asked every day, right? Like questions about ourselves that we don't often take the time to think about. And as especially as high achieving women, as moms, we're always putting somebody else above ourselves. So I think it's like really cool to just dig in. And I want to like hear how you got to be a badass. And we don't often get to tell people that. I say we should wake up and have our bio read to us just to like best a little awesomeness on us in the morning is what I think.
I love that. Like record it and play it.
Yeah, be like, I am a badass. Do it to the day. Yeah.
What would say is a habit that you have that contributes to your success?
I don't know if this is a habit, but it is like ingrained in who I am. And I think it's just grit and like resilience. I played tennis growing up, like at a national level. And I think for whatever reason, that sport, and I still even say to this day, it's like one of the hardest sports. Like I watch these people play at a high level and the mental toughness it takes to be out there by yourself. Next point, all the things, and we can talk about the psychology of sports forever.
Yeah.
But what that really did teach me is like, next point, like, let's go. You got to have a really short memory in this life and in business. you can't take it personally. Like, let's go. Because if you're hanging out in the past and if you're thinking about the previous point, you already lost the next one. And so and you didn't, right? You lost it. You didn't there's a difference between getting beaten and losing too, I think. And so, I don't know. That's just something that I've always carried with me. And I don't know it's interesting though, because I see it reflected differently in my children.
Mm.
It's like that fire in your belly type thing. And, I don't know, like some people get that in different variations. So that's also been interesting to watch that manifest in my kids.
I I love that with the sports psychology. I had an Olympian on the show not too long ago, and I was learning so much from him. And I don't know, I feel like we need to learn a lot more. Maybe I should have more people in sports come on and teach us like from that
Well,
perspective.
I don't know if you've seen the stats, but like, more than 80% of women who sit in C-suites or executive positions were athletes growing up. Like
Oh,
the correlation between athletics and females in leadership is wild. And so, where I'm not breeding Olympians by any stretch of the imagination, but we are in sports. And I think especially for women, just to learn that ability to be tough, to dust yourself off, to stand up for yourself, to know that you can win and push through and do it anyway, even when it's hard. Like I have a daughter that is an equestrian. And I mean, the amount of unpleasant shit that you have to do before you actually get on that horse to do the really cool thing is unreal. Like I would have tapped out long ago, like at the shoveling of the horse poop and all the things and it's hot. Like I would have ducked out long before that. But you gotta, right? Like those are just lessons that we're learning. And so, yeah, I could go on and on about female sports, but
no,
there
I'm
we go.
fascinated about it. Like what makes the person is it because they had the opportunities to be in a team and to show leadership early on, or is it what made them want to do the sports in the first place, or together it made them even a stronger leader? Probably all of the above.
Yeah, I would
I'll
think.
do some research in it, but I see that with my kids as well, and especially my daughter. I love watching her be in volleyball and
Yeah,
gymnastics and things like that,
right.
and
And
see
watch them
her
like
grow.
do the thing, like
Yeah.
accept the pressure and
Hmm.
still win. Like that
Yeah.
to me as a mom, I am like, oh my God, that is gold. Like if you want to make me cry like a bucket of tears, it is to watch your kid push through something really hard and do it anyway, because we all know how hard that is as adults to have
Yeah.
something really shitty and bad happen to you, but still have to get up and do it anyway. And so to watch these little people with minds and hearts of their own create that sort of resilience, I'm like, yes, like I love it. It makes me
Oh,
want to
I
cry.
love that. Yeah, I know. Don't make me cry.
I know.
You're crying. Okay. What would be what's a book or a podcast you would recommend? Because I know you read a lot, and I know we have some favorite similar books.
Oh,
So
yes.
comment.
So I do love the Ed Milet podcast. I think he's like a good standard. Like if you want to just like, what's one podcast I could tune into today and find gold at any of
Uh-huh.
his gazillion episodes, it would be that.
Okay.
I love Ed Milet. And also, so two of my favorite books, one of them is The Slight Edge. Well, actually three. So The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson, like
Okay.
so good. And
Okay.
it's just really about, are you going to be like 95% of the population is doing what it takes, but that's 5%, that slight edge of people are doing one step more. They're doing one more repetition. They're making one more sales call. They're going to one more thing, right? Like they're sending one more email. Like it's the power of that, of stepping into the, like that small percentage of people who, those are the people that are successful, that are ready and willing to do what it takes, like the slight edge. So wonderful, amazing book, also an Audible. You can listen to it. How to Do the Work by Dr. Nicole LaPera. That book changed everything for me. Like taught me a
Wow.
lot about myself, from like an emotional intelligence
Uh-huh.
thing, understanding how childhood patterns, past
Mm.
experiences, layers of crap basically form the lens in which we operate and view ourselves, other people, situations, how we react, all of these things. And it was just it's really great. That's one of the books where I like have underlined and marked like a huge dork. And then, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker is like a must, like everyone, that's read that book too. Like everyone needs to read, everyone. I don't care if you're a lawyer, if you're just a person listening to this podcast, everyone needs to listen to that
That's the
book.
one that we had in common. And we were talking about the blueprint that creates the way we think, and then we have to evaluate why we think the way we do. And is it a self-limiting belief? Is it something that we misconstrued from some life event as a child? And honestly, I love that book. A friend told me about it, and that's the one that helped me buy the building that I'm sitting in right now for my law firm. And no, I love it. Well, Erin, how can people find you, stay connected with you? It's been great having you on.
So you can follow me on Instagram. It's Erin Gerner, Gerner. Same on LinkedIn, Facebook. Send me a DM. If you're a lawyer, maybe like at a pivotal point in your career or your life, and you're looking for a coach, or maybe just someone to just kind of get some clarity, like I have a free connection call. You can just go to my calendar and book 20, 30 minutes with me. Happy to chat. Also on the podcast, Powerhouse Lawyers. Send me a DM or a message, and I'm always here.
Awesome. Well, I think we did a deep dive in something that doesn't get talked enough about, just like really questioning why we're doing what we're doing and if we're on the right path, and the importance of having a life audit, and, really doing some quiet time and reflection with ourselves and being honest about where we want to go next, and are our needs being met, and are we happy where we are? And what you coach and talk about is very similar to what I wrote about with my Power Up Your Practice, and just building the life that you deserve. And so I'm really glad to have you on the show, Erin, and definitely we'll have to stay in touch. Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for tuning in to Power Up Your Practice. I'm Ruby Powers, and it's been a pleasure sharing this time with you. We love your reviews. So if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us one and share this podcast with someone else so that they can know what you've been learning on our show. And make sure to check out the Power Up Your Practice book. It's available in paperback and Kindle on Amazon. It's packed with 25 chapters of strategies to grow and streamline your firm. And we also have the free Power Hub community on School to keep the conversation going in between the episodes. So make sure to keep powering up your practice, and we'll see you next time.